Alright, it is time to expand upon our already gargantuan scale build here and make it into something, well, just ridiculously big. I'm going to be sprinkling in hundreds of different builds all around the outside of our empire to complete the build and, well, let's just get bloody well into it. Okay, so my plan on how we're going to expand this build to be even larger is I essentially want to have like a bunch of different slices around this entire thing with all kinds of different builds, like maybe some villages, some crop fields, animal barns, camps, and all that kind of stuff. And I think it's gonna, oh man, I think it's gonna be freaking sweet. But before we can even get to that, we definitely need to link this pathway up to the rest of the world here, okay? So I'm thinking we definitely get this path right here connected up, and then maybe we get another path from here with a bridge. I'm not too sure about that one though. I reckon we'll just get this one added, oh, maybe over here actually. We can connect them up like that. Yep, okay, we're doing that. So the easiest way to do this is with a couple of different tools, I think. So we're gonna get the elevation tool first, and we're gonna set it to lower, and we're just gonna do that to this general kind of area here. So something like that. It doesn't really matter too much about the shape because we're gonna be fixing this up, because now with something like that, what we're gonna be doing is grabbing out the slope tool. I haven't used this one in a while, but if memory serves me right, what we do is we set the start point and then the end point, which is going to be up here. And then we hold down left click and start just basically drawing on a slope here. And it's that freaking easy, man. Look at that. Look at how good that looks already. Next step is going to be getting out the path tool next. So we're going to set the shape to flat. The radius, I think, for this path is just 1. If we just click, yeah, there we go. So we're going to change the block as well over to cobblestone, which is our pathway block. And now what we can do is just start kind of clicking up along this pathway. But next what I want to do is actually gradually make this path thicker and thicker to kind of blend into this size pathway up here. I'm thinking we increase the radius by just 1 more for here, and we'll start continuing on our pathway up yonder. There we go, something like that. That's looking pretty nice. Now up at this top part, we're going to continue this pathway and just simply link it up to the existing one over here. Okay, and there we have it. There is the pathway linked up. Okay, now I'm just going to go ahead and clean up the pathway, get rid of all the grass and these little weird bits of kind of stair block everywhere, which is it's so annoying, but yeah. So I'm going to get that done real quick and I'll be right back. Okay, there is our path all fixed up and looking absolutely beautiful. I think what I'm going to do now is continue this path up around this way, and then, like I mentioned before, link it up over to our little dam wall over here. And then honestly, I think I wasn't going to do this, but I think what would look nice is to just continue that path and just surround the entire area and kind of like set a perimeter for all of the builds we're going to be making. I'm going to kind of prep all of the land as well while I'm at it. So let's just get started on the time lapse right now. Okay, we are back. That took a lot longer than I freaking thought it would, man. But holy crap, there is a pathway completely added in surrounding the entire kingdom. And that pretty much marks the perimeter for all of the builds I want to include around this thing. Speaking of, let's actually just finally get started on the first one right next to the main entrance here. I want this to kind of like take up this area, you know, that I'm marking out here. And I'm thinking a bit of like a camp would look like, I don't know. I think that would be pretty cool. All right, and so what I want to do first is actually just clear out a little bit of foliage here. And I want to actually make like maybe 2 or 3 different tent designs, okay? I reckon just like a really big one, and then a medium one and a small one would be pretty cool. So I think that's a pretty nice shape there for the largest tent. Let's grab the clone tool and just flip this over onto the other side to make it nice and easily. Then of course we can just select the whole thing again and stack it down to create the, you know, the tent there. And so my main thing that I really like doing with tents that I learned from my good friend Extra Builds is that, you know, they're very blocky and you can't really, there's no freaking wool slabs, okay? It's just the way it is. And so a good way to kind of break that up a little bit and make it feel a bit smoother is to add these kind of segments with some spruce wood. So that kind of like smoothens out the outline of it, I guess. And what we can do once again, clone this, flip it, paste it on the other side. And then we can also clone this down a couple more times. Let's leave maybe a gap of 3, something like that. That actually lines up perfectly, which is kind of crazy. And there, as you can see, like the tent itself is still pretty blocky, but that just helps kind of smoothen out the frame of it. I don't know, dude. I don't know how to explain it, okay? Right in the middle, let's add in a bit of a kind of supporting thingamajig like this. And now, of course, in here, we got to add in a bunch of different details. So I reckon for this big tent, we can have a couple of kind of scattered beds, maybe towards the back here. Something like that, a little bit of a sleeping area, and then maybe off to the side. I just started searching storage. What the hell? I'm thinking I want to add storage, but I need to get chests and barrels, man. There we go. Just a couple of different storage blocks, and we could maybe add some, you know, my signature thing, okay? It always looks so good. Just piles of chests and barrels, okay? Also, maybe like a little bit of log kind of firewood storage would look cool too. So let's maybe get like a log or two, couple of slabs for detail. Bloody well, beautiful. I think underneath this, we definitely need to get like some coarse dirt or something just to kind of, you know, get a bit of a different floor situated. I think we will use coarse dirt as well for the actual path that'll run along this. Sorry, I just punched the mic there. Don't know if that hurt your ears or not. Maybe get some like saplings added in a couple of these pots just for something interesting. I think that's cool. All right, now with this built, what we can go ahead and do is grab out the box select tool with Axiom here, and we're just gonna select this entire tent here. Now what we do, we press Control C to copy it, and then we press Control P, and we can save it as a blueprint. Now, if we click up here, we can find our tent big, and we can just click on it and do Control V to paste it in wherever the hell we want. And yeah, so that's basically how we're going to get our tents kind of sprinkled around. I don't think I actually want one here, so I'm actually just going to delete this one real quick. And maybe in its place, we can get started building a medium one. Okay, I've actually just decided to bring it back so that we have it as reference. Let's get started building the medium tent. So we'll make this one that big, and we're gonna add our little same kind of like wrap around this. All right, and that's looking pretty good for the medium tent there. Let's add in our poles, and I'm just going to scatter around a bunch of details. Okay, and there we go. There's that one done. This one's like a bit of a utility tent of sorts, I guess. We got some little bed rolls on the sides too, which are pretty cute. So once again, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to select this whole thing, save it as a blueprint, and then we'll get started on the small tent. Okay, now for the small tent, I reckon we do something a little bit like... Oh man, this is gonna be kind of hard. All right, and there is our small tent. I just made this into like a personal little tent with one bedroll and a couple of random details and stuff. And yeah, there we have it. There is our 3 different tent sizes coming along very nicely. And so now what I'm going to do is delete all 3 of these. Bang, see you later. And now it is time to figure out the layout of our campsite. And so to do that, I'm gonna grab the path tool once again here, and I'm gonna set it to coarse dirt. And let's just select right here. I'm probably gonna have to do a bit more terraforming, I reckon, because we don't have a lot of flat area to work with. And also, I do want to have this path kind of connect, you know, maybe up to multiple different sections. Now, I'm going to start working on flattening off a little bit more of this landscape so we have a lot more area to work with. Okay, and now with a lot more kind of flat plains to work with here, it's time to start pasting back in all of our tents, okay? So let's grab the big boy here and maybe get this one added right here. We can also do paste copy, and that way we kind of keep our selection here and we can start pasting more of them as well. So I reckon the second one, a nice spot would be right up here on this little hill. And then something as well that I want to try is rotating this diagonally and see if it's actually going to work. So what we can do for that is do unlock rotation, and that allows us to kind of smoothly rotate it. I want to get it 45 degrees, which is like that. And, wow, that's more than messed up. Holy. Okay, that's going to need quite a bit of fixing to get looking right. Oh, Jesus, man, I just can't be bothered trying to fix that. That's too far gone. Okay, so with our 2 big ones, let's just change this over now to the... What the hell? I've got 2 smalls, brother. I didn't call this one medium. Oh, what's wrong with me? Let's start pasting some medium ones around the place. And, well, yeah, you kind of get the point now. Like, this is what I'm going to be doing. I'm just going to fill up this area with a bunch of different sizes of tents, and then we'll come back and add in all kinds of details. So give me a minute. I'm going to get this done right now. Alright, so there is the final layout for this camp, and dude, this thing turned out so nice, man, honestly. I left this big gap here because I do want to add in like a big stinking campfire, like kind of the main campfire of the actual place. So I'm going to go right into the smack bang center, place in 4 hay bales and 4 campfires for like a big old campfire. Then as for the seats, some freaking spruce logs, of course, are going to work perfectly for this. We'll get the classic 3 around the sides of it like so. Okay, and that one's a little bit weirdly placed. There we go, something like that. And then I reckon like a cauldron hanging above this, cooking some stuff would look pretty cool. Oh, okay, maybe if I didn't throw this. We're definitely gonna have to move these chairs back a bit actually for that. So we can have that from maybe here, build this up, and then add 2 cauldrons like this. And then we can use our debug kind of hand thing to connect this up to the actual cauldrons like so. And now I'm thinking those walls are a bit too thick, so I might keep the walls as the base, and then we'll use iron bars here instead. Do that debug thing again to connect that up there. Yeah, I think that's looking pretty cool. Could maybe get some water in one of these just for, I don't know, something interesting looking. Now, I reckon actually what we could probably do with this path is get some texture into it. You know, all the way back when we first started this, I was meant to get texture in our cobblestone path, but I don't know, I just kind of kept with the single block throughout everything now, and it's just kind of too much to change. But you know, that's all right. So an easy way to actually add a different block into this is to grab out the noise painter, set our first block to, you know, what the actual pathway is right now, which is coarse dirt. And then the second block, what we want to add texture with, which is going to be some rooted dirt. And then also down here, you can kind of see the noise preview, I guess. So if I just start painting, you can see it's adding like big splotches of the texture. And what we actually want instead is smaller, you know, a smaller pattern. So what you do is you'll change the scale. You'll lower this down, maybe to like 1 or 2. That way you can see we get some kind of different shapes there, a little bit more variation close together, I guess. And yeah, so what we could do, stop kid. What we could do is just kind of calmly, are you right, James? Yeah, you got a mouthful of food. We could try and just follow the path like that. Okay, stop it now. You're scaring everyone, you're scaring me. But another way we could do this is with the tool masks here. If we click edit, we just need a block equals, set it to coarse dirt. And now if we start painting, yes, there we go. So now we can paint kind of anywhere. We can paint up here. Oh, okay, there is actually path up there. But as you can see, it's only going to replace the coarse dirt blocks, basically. So that's just a super easy way to get that texture added in without having to, you know, kind of finically freaking trace along the path. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, there we go. Now we have some texture added into our path that looks a little bit more kind of high quality. If you wanted, you could even add some dirt path in there too, but I think that looks good as it is. So now if we just, you know, exit off of this, we can kind of just add this wherever we want. And I think I'm going to do that. Oh, actually, no, we were going to keep this and we're going to set it now to grass. So now what we can do is we can add in a little bit of a floor around our campsite. And honestly, I don't really like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a third block, set it to grass, and try it again. And so that's going to kind of scatter in a bunch of grass blocks throughout that as well. We get a little bit more of like a scarcely kind of path that isn't used as often, I guess. And I'm just going to kind of hand place a little bit more around here. Now, of course, we do need to connect up the path to our tents as well. So I'm going to go around and just paint on a path like this. I think it's a little bit easier to do. Okay, there is our path done. I do want to come back to this campsite because it is a little bit lackluster at the moment. So let's start adding in some more details. First of which, I do want to detail these log kind of chairs a little bit more. Maybe add some kind of stuff, I don't know, to the sides of them like that. Now, as for some details around this campsite, we're definitely going to get some like kind of piles of logs and stuff. And so for that, I reckon maybe like off to the side here, we could get some piles of logs, maybe stacked kind of like this. And that does not look like a pile of firewood whatsoever. So I'm going to remove that. Maybe let's get this a bit more behind here. All right. And that is looking pretty good. Next up, of course, we're going to be getting our piles of barrels and chests and all that kind of stuff. You know, it just kind of makes the area come alive and feel like people are actually living here and such. So I'm going to get like pots and all different kinds of crap scattered around. And that's kind of the final detail I'm thinking that we really need to place all around here. Might even get like a cart design or two. So let's make one of those real quick. So we're going to get a little bit of a 2x3 kind of slab structure here. For the wheels, let's get some oak trap doors. And then so it looks like it's actually like a cart and it's being held in place. We can get this little bit of a fence, right click this side to connect it up to the slab, and there we have it. Now on here we can add all kinds of things. Some of my favorite are maybe some amethyst buds, some pots, barrels of course, and some bloody chests, campfires, and even a bit of a lantern like that. Little bit of a cart design. And yeah, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to scatter all of these kinds of details around the place, around the entire campsite, and then we'll finally move on to the next section. All right, so first up I pasted the cart and store storage pile designs all around the camp in spots I could find, on top of getting a secondary campfire situated, along with adding a couple more tents in where I could. Alright, so there is our campsite all completed. I think it turned out pretty freaking sweet. And now what it is time to move on to is our next little segment here, of which I want to make into sort of like an animal district. Like I want to get like a big barn built and just heaps of like fields of animals. I think that'll look pretty freaking cool. So the first thing that I'm actually going to do is create a bit more of a flat plane here for the barn that I actually want to create. So I think that is pretty good there. Obviously this landscape's a little bit messed up. We'll fix that up later. And the pathway too, I'm just going to replace that for now with some grass because I don't really know how I'm going to do this exactly just yet. And so what I want to do now is create a barn, but obviously this is actually diagonal, obviously. So I'm thinking we might try our hand at creating a diagonal barn. So of course, let's grab out the mangrove wood. It's just by far the best wood for a freaking barn, okay? And then of course, we're gonna get out the diorite blocks for the pillars. Let's build up our pillars here, and then we're gonna start with creating the front kind of wall design. So I'm thinking we get that classic kind of barn vibe going. We'll get another strip here for our door, maybe something a bit like that. We could even add in some windows here too if we wanted. I don't know how I feel about that just yet, and that's looking pretty cool. I think what we'll do is we'll clone this, flip it, there we go, and we'll paste it there, and that is like the front kind of, well, bottom half of our barn, but that's looking pretty cool there. The next what we'll do, we'll stack this entire thing and we'll stack this up probably about to there, I think. All right, and now onto the roof. This is going to be pretty freaking hard, I think. So what I might actually try and do is set the top point for the roof, which I think might be even higher, something like that. And what I want to try is using the path tool here. Let's change this over to polished diorite. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select right here, and then I'm going to select up at the top as well. We're going to lower that radius, and then I'm going to set this over to Bezier curve. We actually need to add in a third point as well. So we're going to put this there and then set our third point and see what kind of shape that gives us. See, it's a little bit weird in the way that it shapes the roof there. All right, that actually looks pretty freaking good for a diagonal barn roof there. So now what I want to try is actually with the smear tool. If we go ahead and select this entire roof, I just want to see if this is going to work. I don't have high hopes here. Yeah, see, I can't. Oh, I can actually smear it. Okay, it looks like that might actually work. I just need to get it like in the right spot. There we go. Oh, that is freaking perfect, man. Look at that. How good is that? Confirm that. Bang. There's our diagonal roof done. Obviously, it's kind of duplicated a bit of the front wall here, but that's fine. We'll just remove that by hand. But dude, how good is that? I can't believe that's actually worked like perfectly. Now what we can do, let's continue building this front wall up here. And actually, I want this to overhang a little bit too. So we might actually have to smear this again, just out to here like that. That way we have that like overhang of the roof there. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. Now I did actually just realize I don't really want the whole roof to be diorite. So we're gonna have to paint over that and change it to the classic deep slate. We'll just finish up this front wall first. So there we go. There's that added up. I do of course want to get a, should we have a bigger door? Yeah, I think the door needs to be a little bit taller probably about there. And then we will of course get a little bit of a window up here too. There we go. That's looking awesome, dude. Hell yeah. Okay, now for changing the roof over, we're gonna get the noise painter tool. Actually, we're gonna set this to deep slate tiles and bricks, of course. We're gonna grab out that tool mask once again. We're just gonna set it so that it's only going to replace the polished diorite here. And now with a single block brush, the smallest you can get, we're just going to start painting this on, essentially keeping those kind of end blocks there the same for the, you know, the trim is what I'm trying to say. All right, and that is looking pretty good. Now what we can go ahead and do is duplicate this entire front wall onto the back. Bang, dude, there we have it. Now we just need to add on the side walls and obviously the interior. And that's like the quickest and easiest freaking barn I've ever like made. Holy crap, man. Like that's crazy good. After this, I built up the walls of the barn and added some stripped mangrove logs for texture as well as some side doors. Heading on inside, I added a little pen off to the left and just a bunch of storage on the right with plenty of hay bales. Heading on outside, I began building a whole bunch of separated animal pens all across the landscape by hand because I couldn't figure out a way to do it with Axiom. All right, and there it is. Our barn and animal pens is all done, and this freaking area is looking pretty sweet now. Like, I love just having these massive like separated fields fields all around the place. I definitely do think we need to add some grass back in here. So I'm going to do that with this tool mask set up here and just the scatter brush once again. And I just want to add some grass kind of along these paths over here just because they're a little bit bare. And hell yeah, that's looking good. It is now time to move on to the third section over here, which I'm planning on making into a little bit of kind of a mixture of stuff. So first of all, once again, let's change this over to the frickin' pathway blocks. And before we do that, I actually want to change this pathway a little bit. So I want this more to kind of go up this way, because what I want to do is have a little bit of a horse stable that the pathway actually runs through. I think is going to be super cool. Well, actually not through, but I want the horse stable to be kind of right behind it here, just a long building like this. Or I guess we could have the path run through it. Yeah, screw it. We're going to do that instead. Like, who cares? So let's clear out a bunch of this foliage to give ourselves some room for this, because it's going to be quite a big building, I think. So this horse stable is going to take up this kind of plane, and then down here, I want to get maybe some houses and like more tents and stuff scattered around. But before we do that, let's get onto this horse stable. So I'm thinking the classic kind of spruce and stone building is going to work pretty nicely. So that's going to be the walkway length, and then of course we're going to have the actual horse stable areas along here and along here. I'm going to clone these pillars down, leaving a gap of maybe 5. There we go. I think that's going to be a pretty good size there. So let's select this entire thing and stack it up. All right. And now, once again, we're going to stack up this one. Another 5 blocks. And you might be able to tell the kind of building that we're going to be going for. We're going to get like those slanted roofs and then a kind of curved roof on top of here, I think is going to look quite nice. I reckon something like that is going to look quite nice. There we go. Now for the actual main roof, of course, we're going to get this spruce here. I'm just going to select this and stack it down. Now I'm actually going to build out this entire wing here. And then once I'm finished, I'll copy and flip it over to this side to make everything nice and quick and easy. So I kind of want like a barn style building here. So I reckon we're going to get some textured stone bricks and stone. A bit like that. Maybe for this front, we'll do something like that. And then along the sides, we could kind of do my idea a little bit better. There, so my idea was something a bit like this. Might even get fence gates along the top, just so it's nice and kind of open like that. And then what we'll do is we'll just stack this all the way down to the end like that. All right, and then heading on to the inside here, we're going to separate these pens, of course, just probably with some fences like this. Again, I'm not going too crazy with the interiors here because obviously, you know, we're not even halfway done yet for this, so yeah, we've got a lot of frickin' building to get done, man. So I'm not spending, you know, as much time as I kind of actually really want to spend on these interiors just because we have so much to do. But I mean, at least be thankful that we're actually doing interiors, because half the time I'm not even doing them now because these builds are just kind of getting out of hand, like ridiculously big. But for each one of these horse pens, we definitely need something for them to kind of munch on. So that's where the hay will come in. And then I would like a little bit of like a drinking area as well, I think would be quite cool. So we could get something like that. Then we'll just clone this across, just kind of place it randomly in each pen, just so it's a little bit different and varied. And then we'll continue adding in our little hay bales around the place too. And now for the final thing, I reckon probably just a couple lanterns. And bang, there we have it. The entire side here is done. Now what we can do is we can clone this entire thing. We can start scrolling, press Control F to flip it and paste it on this side too. Perfect. All right, that is looking sweet as. Now I think this, it's a bit weird how it goes from 3, a gap of 3, and then it goes to 5, and I feel like it's gonna look weird. So I think we need to shrink that gap down to be 3 as well. So I'm just going to move this side in by 1, and I'll do the same for this side so that we have that gap of 3 there instead. I think that's going to work out a lot better. And so now I'm just going to start adding on this next roof design. And yeah, that should turn out pretty cool once we flip it. Yeah, there we go. That's like exactly the kind of shape that I was wanting there. That's perfect. And yeah, that is looking pretty cool like that. Okay, and there's the horse stable building all done. I think, I don't really like this wood at the top here. I think I'm actually going to change this over to the same texture as the rest of the walls. It just looks kind of weird. Yeah, that looks 100 times better. Okay, now the last thing to do is, of course, grab our horse spawn egg and start filling. Oh, sorry, man. Come on, get out of there, quick. Get out of there. What the hell? Jesus Christ. Okay, start spawning in our freaking horses here. All right, and hell yeah, that is all done. That's looking pretty cool. I just went ahead and added some lanterns and some extra little details along that. And that is our horse stable done. The idea is the travelers would kind of pass through this dirt path and they would, you know, have to go through this and hopefully buy a horse, you know? And well, now the next thing that I think is definitely gonna be worth doing is connecting this path up here. It just kind of makes sense. And let's just paint this on along here and connect it up like so. Use our script brush to remove that grass from the path, and perfect. Okay. Now, when it comes to this big area here, I want to add in some house designs and maybe some more tents. And so what I'm wanting is two different kinds of houses. I want some kind of rickety, mainly wooden houses, and then some more kind of established houses. And I think for those established ones, I really do love these house designs down here. They're so like different from what I'd normally do. Like a very simple kind of design and like very different colored. And I don't know, I really like them. And to save us some time, I'm going to copy these designs and use those for the kind of more established houses. But for those older rickety ones, we're going to be making those from scratch. I think I'm going to make like 3 or 4 different variants. So let's crack out the spruce wood here and get bloody building. Okay, and here is a quick little bit of a look at our area so far. Dude, I love this little village. I can't wait to get a full one of these. Excuse me. A full one of these built, like, I don't know where, but we're definitely going to get a full one built somewhere, dude. These crop fields as well. James is copying my burp. Every time I start talking. Yeah. Liam's here too, hey? Really? Crop fields as well. They definitely turned out pretty interesting. Okay, there we go. That is looking much better. It was actually kind of a lot more messed up than I thought it was. So I just fixed the bottom, added a little bridge across, and there we have it. But yeah, overall, this whole area is turning out so freaking awesome, man. This looks so good so far. But I think up here, I think it's time to get another little bit of a campsite situated. Also, we need to do a little bit of biome painting here of the forest biome because this grass is all different colored, and I don't like it. May as well fix up this spruce forest as well while we're here. Bang. Absolute beauty. So yeah, I'm thinking another big old sprawling campsite up here is going to look quite nice. And then after that, probably on maybe like this kind of slope, I'll do a little bit more terraforming to get some more flat plains. And I think we will get a massive village added here too. I'm going to have to restart my game because I keep getting freaking lag spikes, man. So yeah, I'm going to get started building out these two massive, things. So let's get to it. After a bit of landscape flattening, I got straight into placing a heap of tents everywhere in the most interesting way I could. I then connected them all up to the paths, added some grass, a big campfire, and then began sprinkling in all kinds of details like carts, barrel piles, and trees. Next up, I began working on the more established village with those house designs from an older build, which I think fit in perfectly here, along with a bunch of market stalls and other details. To the right of this, I began adding a bunch of crop fields and filled them all up with wheat, carrots, and beetroot. Now, revisiting that forest, I cleared out a section in the middle and began adding in another village using the houses we built around the barn earlier, and then finished off with adding a bunch more trees. Alright, and there we have it. The Empire is now... Oh, okay, there's a cloud there. The Empire is now fully completed. That is officially everything that I wanted to get added around this already massive structure. And so, as always, if you want to download this world and explore all of these different cities and builds for yourself, the download will be available on my Patreon. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.